everyone. Welcome to Monona Terrace's Design Discoveries. I'm Heather Sabin, Education Specialist. Let's go tour the RossStreetHouse in Madison with Arlen and Carol.
Hi, I'm Arlen Kai. I'm an architect here in Madison, and I'm here with a friend and fellow architect, Carol Richard. And hi, Carol.
Hi.
Thank you for bringing us to your home. And you designed and built this home for you and your husband to be a green home. Why did you do that?
Well, it's interesting. It just really felt like the right thing to do. We have a very special place on our planet Earth, and it feels like we should all be doing our small part in protecting it for ourselves and future generations.
What are some of the goals in doing this project?
Well, we started out with the goal of, first and foremost, making our house a very comfortable spot for us to live in. And that included making sure that we had a lot of natural light, and that it was very functional, and that it was airtight so it would be good and cozy in the wintertime. And to that end, we also wanted to minimize our eco footprint. And the first thing we did was we looked at what we would do during construction. It's crazy, but our landfills are 50% filled with construction waste. So if you can reduce the amount of waste you produce during construction, that's half the battle. And we were very careful during that process to make sure that we recycled everything we could and to minimize the amount of construction materials coming to the site. But then secondly, we also wanted to make sure that the house operated efficiently once we did move in, and also use the minimum amount of energy required to operate it so that it would in the future be a good greenhouse.
Well, along that line, there's an organization that rates the efficiency and environmental design. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, there's a U.S. Green Building Council has a program called LEED, and essentially what they do is rate a building on its qualities of greenness. And so we decided to follow those guidelines, and we produced the house using those guidelines, and we did really well. We did better than we expected. We got the platinum rating, which is the highest level you can get, and it's kind of like getting an A+ on a test.
Congratulations on the A++.
Thank you.
Can you give us a little tour?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One of the things that we put on the house are solar panels on our garage. And it's interesting because the solar panels produced almost all of our electrical requirements for a number of years, up until actually 2 years ago when we bought this little electric car called a Leaf. It's all electric. It runs entirely on electricity battery rather than any gas at all. It's not a hybrid. And so when we bought the car, we actually came in and added a big electrical outlet so we can charge it inside the garage. And because it uses more electricity, we're actually now going to we just signed a contract to add more solar panels to the tall roof. So we'll have even more solar panels to run with in the house. We actually have 2 meters on our house. It's one actually registers the amount of energy that we produce from our solar panels, and the other measures the energy that we're getting from Madison Gas and Electric. So if you look really closely, you can see that one is actually running backwards and one is running forwards. And on a sunny day like today, we're producing a lot of solar energy, so there should be some good action there. When we designed the landscape for the house, we wanted to make sure that we could take care of all of the water that's produced on the site, within the site. One of the things that's happening in Madison is our lakes are really in bad shape, and part of it is due to all the fertilizer that comes from both yards and from agricultural areas. And so by doing our small little part, we're actually reducing the amount of hard surface and really trying to maximize the amount of soft surfaces, including permeable pavers, but also landscape areas, so that ground can absorb the water, and then it's carried to the back of the house where we have a rain garden, which we'll show you next. This is our rain garden, and this has been kind of a fun spot for us to see develop. It's designed so that it actually can contain up to a 5-inch rain event, and it holds the water so that the water doesn't flow off the site into other people's yards or into the sewer system, which can then go into the lakes, which is what you don't want. But it can hold all of this water, and it's interesting because that water will disappear within a day because of all of these native plants that are planted around the edge. The native plants actually have root systems that go down upwards of 20 feet, and they form channels where that water can actually go down into the ground and get absorbed into the lower levels of the water system. We're looking at the north side of the house right now, and this is actually our backyard facing the rain garden, but it's where we live in the summertime. Because on the north side of a house, you don't get direct sunlight, and the screen porch becomes like a second living room for us. It's a great space to be able to eat outside all 3 meals and to hang out on the porch. With all the native plants that we have in our yard, we get the extra benefit of having a lot of different wildlife that one wouldn't expect necessarily in a backyard in the city. We get a lot of butterflies, we get a lot of birds, and we also get a lot of bees that are attracted to the plants. Our house faces due south, which is a really great orientation if you're wanting to design a house for that takes advantage of passive solar. And one of the things we did on this house that's really sort of the basic design element is we introduced what's called a brise-soleil, and that's kind of a fancy word for sunscreen. And you can see that it's a metal series of louvers that go up vertically up this outside of the house. What the brise-soleil does is essentially controls the light that comes into the house. It's a passive solar approach. The louvers do not move, they're fixed, they always stay, but the reason it works is because our earth moves. So in the summertime, when the sun is very high in the sky and our axis is such that we get a lot of daylight and a lot of heat, the angle of the louvers is such that the sun does not come into the space, and you can see on the floor that we have very little sunlight introduced into the space. However, in the opposite season, in the middle of winter, or December 21st, which is the shortest day of the year, the louvers are spaced so that because the sun is so low in the sky, the sun comes all the way through all of those louvers and goes all the way to the back of the house, which produces a nice warm feeling in the house, as opposed to in the summertime when we get the natural light without the heat. The house is designed as an open floor plan, which is great if you're designing a small house because it makes the spaces feel bigger than they actually are. So one space flows to the other, and it's just one big room at the end of the day.
Carol, thank you for sharing your house with us today.
And thank you for stopping by.